let's go live as I do it as we're on, and let me just quickly tweet that we're live to get the people in. We're live. Hello everyone. 10 seconds in. 10 seconds in, and we're still preparing stuff, and we're still doing admin stuff. This is why this show works, because we purposely do this on the fly to stall. That's what it is. But we're back again. Hello, my friend. Hello everyone. As we wait for people to come in, we're back again. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ari and Nathan, back again. Another episode of The Rest, joined, as always, every week with Nathan. Always a pleasure, never a chore, my friend. How are you? How was your weekend? But removing whatever happened on Saturday night, how was your weekend otherwise?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I actually got to see, before our loss, the top prospects for this year's draft, which I haven't seen a lot of, weirdly, because focus, on the after the top prospects, So it was pretty good, pretty interesting to see. Enjoyed watching the VFL side get schooled by a bunch of under 18s.
Well, yeah, that's
the best ones in the country, but
still a bunch of children.
Yeah,
effectively.
pretty much.
Question without notice: who was the standout? But of Harley Red side, obviously, who was the standout?
Well, yeah, you questioned me on this. This is interesting. A different take on this show. Well, Jake Rogers, Gold Coast boy, he was very good. He got best on ground, very dashy halfback, held his position really well. Good with his ball use. He impressed me. A lot of the interstate boys impressed me, and I guess the statement I came away with was that the interstate prospects have much better talent, but Victoria in general has more depth. That is what I felt coming out of this.
Right. Okay. Is that like the academy boys and stuff?
Yeah, like a couple from the Gold Coast Academy, but a lot just from Waffle, Stanford,
right? Okay.
Wherever else.
There you go. And yeah, my weekend, Mother's Day on Sunday. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are watching and in general. That was good. Got a feed, was great. I got went out for lunch, and the place that I went had no steaks. Fuming, absolutely fuming. Ended up going with the Caesar salad instead. It was good. It was nice. How did you spend your Mother's Day?
Well, just I'm watched St Kilda. Mum's St Kilda fan, so that was not the best for it, but
yeah, a bit stiff.
Just nice and relaxing.
Nice, lovely. And before we move on, it will be a miss for us to just briefly, ever so briefly mention Saturday night. Very, very bad by Carlton, and I hope we win this week. I really do.
When are you going to learn to just stop tipping us? You like? I'm thinking now. How many have we lost now? 5. 4. You'd be 4 tips closer to me if you just.
Yeah, but also,
tip.
But if you tipped Carlton, you'd be.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. So think about it like that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's do that now. Actually, since you spoke about it, we'll do it briefly. You got 8 tips right this week. Congrats. Again, as always.
I'm on a roll. I'm on a good roll at the moment.
You are on a roll, and you've jumped. You're now 9. You're now 11 ahead of me, which 9 doesn't go into 11. So even if I differ on all of yours, I still can't catch you within a round, but still early. I think the bye rounds might kind of shape something up, but it's all right. We'll move, and we'll touch on that a little bit more in depthly at the end of the show. But we've got quite a lot to cover, and by quite a lot to cover, I mean we don't have that much to cover in depthly. Just got a lot of topics that we'll kind of brush over. We're going to speak about the Swans because they suffered another loss, and that's going to be interesting to speak about what their future or what the future lies for them. The Richmond as well. Are they back? Who really knows? We're going to be touching on a technique that some forwards who are potentially on around about $800,000 a year on 7-year deals. What kicking technique they use, so we'll be touching on that as well. Grand final got announced to be 2:30 again this year, so we'll touch on that, and then we're going to be obviously Indigenous round, so Doug Nichols round, so we'll be touching on the jumpers. They always smash them out of the park. We'll be ranking everyone. So let's kick things off with the top of the run sheet, and that is Sydney. Now, so obviously Sydney are now in a really weird position because we kind of predicted them last year, heading into this season, where we're kind of like, heading into the season, we were looking at them and we were thinking, all right, what are they going to do? Like, because obviously the grand final loss in such heartbreaking circumstances where they got smashed, and how are they going to respond from that? They're a young team and they started the season okay. They won a couple of games. Obviously, that loss to Melbourne quite early on hurt them. And is it one too many injuries? Is kind of the big overarching, obviously it's written down there, the big overarching point, because they've obviously had mass injury concerns so far this season. Rampy, McCartan have all gone down for quite a significant time, and then obviously throughout the week, Mills and Logan McDonald are both out. So, what are your thoughts on everything here? Because the season's slipping away. The season's slipping away for them.
Yeah, they're in a bit of trouble, and you know Sydney are in a bit of trouble when they're losing at the SCG, because I think even last year, didn't they only lose, I think, 1 or 2 games at the SCG, which, out of 11 games, like,
yeah,
they don't get beaten there very often, and they've been beaten, 3 times. They've only beaten Hawthorn at home, which is unusual for them. But I can't say this season is slipping away, because it is still too early. I think after the bye is when you start cutting teams off. Well, at least the majority of teams off. You could probably cut a few teams off now, but, all it takes is literally 2 or 3 wins and you're back in the top 8, because teams above you are probably going to lose at some point, and they're in trouble. But when you look at their fixture, North Melbourne and Carlton the next 2 weeks, to me, that's 2 wins.
Here we go.
Look,
it started already. We don't even have to tip them until next week. You can chill on the Carlton slander.
But I mean, look, North will give them a good battle as well, considering the form they're in. I mean, they're very vulnerable right now, so I couldn't see them blowing out North. They don't seem like they really can do it to anyone at the moment, which is interesting, because especially when they started the season. I mean, I guess it was against Hawthorn, but they blew out Hawthorn. Even they beat Gold Coast very comfortably, and Gold Coast, we know, have the potential, right? So it's very odd season, but it's not. I don't feel like it's a premiership hangover as much as it is just general injuries.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the narrative that you can kind of shift kind of towards. I think, obviously, I've spoken to a couple of Sydney supporters, and they're a little bit frustrated with the kind of media reaction around them, because it's like, oh, premiership hangover. But their injury list is like severely, like it is severe. Just looking at it here, Sam Reid gone for the season. They could have used him right now, especially with their lack of players down back at all. Rampy out he's been out for quite a few weeks. Paddy McCartan, I doubt we're going to see until the rest of the season. Callum Mills has been out for 6 weeks, announced throughout the week. Laddams is a test to come back this week, or at least next week at the minimum. Joel Amati tore his hamstring against Richmond at Gather Round, and he would be handy right now, considering they're playing Aaron Francis as their key defender. I know Amati's a forward, but just having the tall stocks helps. Tom McCartan, I don't think Tom McCartan will play this week. He's obviously had that concussion and then has missed weeks subsequently. Logan McDonald with an ankle out for 8 weeks. Pretty much all of them, if they were fit, pretty much all of them are in their 22. If not their 22, are in their 24, 25, 26. So they're going to be at least there and about, right? So I think, while I do agree that the premiership hangover is kind of an issue in a sense, because when you look at their run, like you touch on, they smacked both Gold Coast and the Hawks. The way that they finished both of those games wasn't too great, and obviously they got run over the top on by the D's. Do you think that without, I don't know how to frame this question, but do you think if they had all their players fit, they would have kept their trajectory based on what you've seen this season, based on kind of the way that they've played this season? Do you think if all their players had been fit, well, not all of them, because you can't really say that, but say most of their players have been fit, do you think they would have kept their trajectory kind of as kind of we thought it would be going? Or do you think that even if they had their players, the structure's not working, teams have found them out, they haven't clicked, premiership hangover, etc.? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, no, it's a tough question. I couldn't see them being as poor as they are now with a full team, and because you can only, you're consistently building on every week, especially with a full team. It's only going to get better, right? With this, how much can you build, right? Because eventually half these players won't be in the side. Not half, but you'll get your better players back, and that synergy will. How much can you really create right now? Because some won't be there come a couple of weeks.
Well,
I don't know. Also, No, go.
Sorry, go. No, I was going to say. Well, it's also the fact that their injuries have come from. You've got Rampy, K defender, McCartan, K defender, McCartan, K defender. I mean, when you're playing Aaron Francis, Will Gould, Callum Mills, Robbie Fox as your 4 key defenders across that period of time, it does not help, does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I'm just double checking now, but they're getting beaten quite heavily in the midfield, even with their centre clearances. They've lost the last 2 weeks, which doesn't help. If you can't win from the core, you're not going to really win.
With Mills out as well.
In a lot of other areas. Yeah, so they're a tough team to analyse at the moment because there is no guarantee they'll get players back and it'll happen for them. I mean, especially come to, 5 or 6 weeks, like they could be out of it, like we sort of touched on. Not that I think they're out of it already, but even though you're always mathematically a chance, the pressure to win games just becomes, heavier and heavier. And if they're trying to fix everything right at the end when they need results and it's not happening, could get even worse. But they're lucky it's still early days, relatively early days.
Yeah. At what stage do you think it gets too little too late? Because when we look at their injuries, like I said, Reed gone for the season, Rampy a couple of weeks, we're going to just assume 4, McDonald 8, Mills 6 to 8, Paddy McCartan probably won't play again this season, Tom McCartan back within the next couple of weeks, you think. So the majority of their injuries, Joel Amati probably within with maybe a month and a half as well. So funnily enough, most of their injuries will come back, you'd think, kind of just after the bye or on the bye. Do you think they need to launch in that second half of the season? Because they have their bye in... When do they have their bye?
After
round
our
12.
game.
Yeah, they have their bye in round 12. So they have their bye quite early. Do you think that's an advantage or disadvantage for them, considering their injury issues?
I don't think it makes a difference, to be quite honest. I think a bye is only an advantage if you're in bad form, but it probably is for them. But kind of injuries-wise, I mean, the players will, I don't know. I don't think it has too much impact based off sort of, last year with Carlton. I feel like you don't just all of a sudden get better, even if a player comes back during the bye. It would be the same if they came back, normally without a bye.
Yeah, of course. They sit 14th. They've won a third of their games. They're 3-6. They're 3-6, and a lot of those games, some of those games have been on a knife edge. Quite funnily enough, if Ollie Florent kicks that ball 5% harder, they're 4-5, and then if someone just picks up Toby Green, all of a sudden they're 5-4. So they really could have had that positive record really, really easily. And their wins so far this season have been convincing. They destroyed Richmond in Adelaide, and obviously their first 2 wins this season have been very good. Well, their first 2 wins this season were very good. What timeline are you giving them? Say by round 16, they've got North this week, Carlton next week, by St Kilda, Brisbane, West Coast, and Geelong. That's 6 games. Of the next 6, that's when you assume most of their players will be back, especially those that have a timeline to return. Where do you see them? Well, where do you think they need to be to maintain final contention?
Well, I've always had this sort of stance. You got to be at 500, right? As in 50% in your record. Yeah. I reckon if they're sitting no more than 2 games under 50%, you give yourself a chance. Otherwise, you're just playing catch up, which becomes a lot. How often does that turn out when you're playing catch up? It's always mathematical. If you win this game, this game, but it doesn't ever happen, right? You just
it's very rare. I agree.
Catches up to you, that pressure. So, look, I reckon if they're, but I'd say round 16, 15, when you'd say they've got a fair amount of their players back, right? If you sitting near 50%, I'd probably take that. Only because I don't see many other teams being that much above 50% that there'll be a massive gap.
Yeah, I think the bottom half of the 80 is quite even in my opinion. I think maybe from maybe 12th up, I think there's still teams who can definitely cause a stir. So if they just get themselves into that area, they can definitely do some damage. If you look at their run home, their final 4 games, the Giants, which is probably a big game considering that they probably want some revenge. Gold Coast at home, Adelaide over there, and Melbourne at the SCG. Going like we said, going like obviously with the next 6 games, I think they need to at least win 4 of the next 6, in my opinion, to really kind of push themselves back into that area. Of their last 4, they would need they can't be in a position where they need to win 3 of their last 4, because the only real lock for me there is the Gold Coast game at home. The Giants game is 50-50 because of obviously it's a rivalry game, etc. Adelaide over there is always tough, and Melbourne are probably going to be roaring into finals with some momentum. Do you see them? Like I know it's very hard to tell right now, but if you were to make a kind of snap call, do they play finals? Yes or
no? Wow, yeah, that is a very tough call at this moment. Yeah. I'm going to say yes because well, you know me being pessimistic, but I think they bounce back these next 2 weeks. Because North aren't good, but, you know, there'll be more pressure somehow on Carlton than there will be Sydney. Would you believe it? So, and it's in Sydney. I mean, if you are a Sydney supporter, you do look at those next 2 games and think we can bounce back. And that takes you to what, 4 and 6? No, sorry, 5 and 6.
If they win the next 2, yeah.
Yeah. And you'd be definitely 9th or 10th, 1 game out or 1 game in. So,
yeah.
I do say it will click eventually. I find it very hard to believe they're just going to completely fall off and not recover at all at any point of the season.
Yeah, well, I think just finishing up, obviously, like I said, their main injuries are in defence. They come up against North this weekend with Aaron Francis, Will Gould, Robbie Fox. No, not even Callum Mills. They're their defenders, right? Against North with Larky, maybe Logan drifts forward, and then Zerha, you could potentially get away with that. Against Carlton next week, I know you want to be pessimistic, and I know we don't really speak about Carlton that often, but we saw what Geelong did to them without any key defenders. If Colonel and Mackay can get a hold of Gould and Francis, I know Tom McCartan may be back. I think that could be. I think Carlton's 2 forwards can win that game on their own because of just how depleted they are. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But they have been unlucky that all their injuries have come in one isolated area, because if they were spread out across the field, I think it would have been better for them. But there you go. You think they make it? I would. If they miss, it'll be on percentage. I think they're going to be good enough to win as many. I think they're going to be good enough to win enough games to get in. Whether or not they get in because of percentage, I don't know. So I think they'll win at least 12 games. Put it that way. So there you go. Let's move from a team who's kind of started well and ended poorly to a team that's started poorly and has resurged, it seems, over the last couple of weeks, and that is the Tigers. Now, Richmond are a fascinating team to discuss because of the narrative that's around them about their dynasty, right? And they're a team that started very poorly. Obviously, they drew with Carlton in round 1. And they haven't been able to find their form since. Their only win came against Adelaide the week after, which Adelaide really tested them at times. They lost a couple of games by quite a big margin, Sydney being the big one, and then losing by 4 goals to the Gold Coast isn't great. But they've kicked over 100 points in the last 2 weeks. They beat the Cats, who are on a resurgence of their own. Dusty's back kicking goals. Hopper, Taranto seem to be firing. Lynch still to come back. Where do you think it's a last dance for them, making one last charge into the 8 into finals, or is it just a false alarm?
I believe it's a false alarm. I'm not very set on this whole their back narrative, considering Geelong were pretty depleted as well on Friday night and could not kick straight, and Richmond took their opportunities. I think that would have been a completely different game if Geelong had kicked well to start the game. I think weren't they 2-8?
2-7
1 point.
Time.
2-7. Like that. Bad kicking, bad football. Like they won that game Richmond. I'm not saying they shouldn't have won it all, but I'm just not convinced that was anything to say they're back by any means. It's, you can't just disregard the first 7 weeks because if that was the case for certain team in navy blue, we'd be in love with them, right? We'd just happiness every week. So you can't just disregard what's happened. They're always going to be good just because of the talent and the experience they have. They're never going to just turn terrible, I don't think, until these players, exit out the experience. But hard to say they're back. They'd have to string together at least 2 or 3 wins.
Well, I've got 2.
And
they've got Dream
that
Time
is 2,
as well.
but it's West Coast, right? I mean,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, this week is very interesting. We'll touch on it later, but based on the recent history of those 2 teams, it's Essendon are always vulnerable in these type of games. So, I mean, look, the good thing for Richmond now is they've got no pressure on them. And that always helps. They don't really have an expectation anymore. It's just they could resurge or they might not. Then they can just play it's just freedom in the way they play, which I think is, it's a luxury. It definitely is a luxury, but personally, not convinced.
Would there be a scope for you to become convinced if they go on a run? Obviously, the Bombers this week, which you'd back them in. Well, I would certainly. Then Port at the G, Freo over there, and then Secure at the G. If they win 4 of the next 5, that'd probably put them in the 8. They'd be on 7 wins, maybe not actually. They'd be on 7 wins. They've got the draw, so percentage doesn't really matter unless obviously Carlton is in that area as well, in which Carlton have a better percentage. What would be is there a barrier for you to become convinced? Because I think there's something here personally. I do think there's something here floating where I don't think it's the Tigers of old. I know that's a lyric of their song. I don't think it's that we're not seeing 2017, 2019 Richmond. I think we are seeing a slightly more, I wouldn't say mature, but a kind of established Richmond. Kind of the way that they go about it, it's very methodical, but also chaotic at times as well. I think there is a lot of method to the madness, and you back Dimmer in to kind of implement a game style that will suit their current list because he's done that for the past 2 years, and for the past 5 years, 4 years, and it's worked wonders for them, right? So I do think there's something brewing. I do. What we saw on Friday, was something we haven't seen from them this year. And especially if they back it up, I agree with what you said about West Coast. It is West Coast, and you can't really take a whole lot from it because of them. And to be frank, they didn't look that great in that West Coast game either. Just halfway through the third quarter, they blitzed away and they ended up strolling with the 4 points, but they didn't look great for a majority of that game. They looked great for the whole game against Geelong. I think they back it up this week. It's the start of something. What would be the kind of the measuring stick for you to believe in them once again, if there is any?
Well, it is tough because Essendon just seem to. I don't actually know where Essendon sit this year. They're very odd, and I don't think I've been able to figure them out. If they beat Essendon, I don't know. It depends how they win. Because if they sort of just beat Essendon, I feel like they're on par with Essendon, and I see them as 10th, 11th type teams that are just going to push. Port Adelaide's probably the test you look at because Port Adelaide is serious.
Wow.
I can't say I agree with that. I'm just saying Port, they're serious in terms of where they're sitting on the ladder of the games they've won. So if you can, and I
go back to week 2 of this podcast of these series, ladies and gentlemen.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You just
the tips will prove that. The tips will. I'm based off where they sit on the ladder, right? They are.
Right.
Well, my tips will prove that I still believe what I said in the first couple of weeks later on. No. But based off the form Port Adelaide should be in, that is probably a win you would say, okay, fair enough. Maybe they've got something here. But I don't know. They're just, I just don't see, like, I don't see them winning enough to make finals. Not because they're bad. It's just there's a lot of better teams than Richmond, no matter how well they start performing. I just, like, going to Brisbane, even St Kilda, like, will they beat these teams? I don't know. I just don't think they will. I mean, St Kilda's one, especially at the MCG, it's a different ball game. But
if you were to put them in like a power rankings, I know power rankings are very controversial because the ladder tells the actual story. But off form and off the current couple of weeks, where are you sitting with them? Where are you sitting with them in terms of like if you were to put them on a power rankings kind of ladder?
Where are they now?
13th.
No, double check.
I think
13th.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the teams above them, Fremantle, Gold Coast, Essendon. Well, they didn't beat Gold Coast, so I can't put them above Gold Coast.
You'd put them above the Bombers, surely.
Hard to say, even because
they've lost the last four.
I reckon they're still like 11th, 12th. Like I just because their experience isn't going to play well every week. Like they're not.
Yeah, but Dusty kicked 4 and played anymore. Like the old Dusty, yeah, and you're not going to get that.
But that won't happen every week. That's the thing. Yeah. Like it was a big time game. I think that definitely helped and brought them up. And I don't know. I cannot see them beating enough quality opposition to bank those wins. I think they'll always be good enough to beat, those teams that sit around them for right now, obviously. Like anyone in this that's not in the top 8, they definitely put up a challenge against. But then you look at the top 8 teams and it's just tough. Like they beat Adelaide, they beat Geelong, but then you sort of get to Bulldogs is a 50-50, but, St Kilda, Port, Brisbane, Melbourne, Collingwood, do I see them beating any of those teams?
Well, I lost to the Dogs in that really wet game at the
Yes, that's true. So that's the top 6 teams you probably would say more unlikely than likely. Not that they can't, it's just...
Right. So you would have
the same Richmond.
10th in the power rankings?
Yeah, I'd say 10th or 11th. I could see them getting at least 10 wins.
Yeah.
Like I think they'll mathematically be there, but I just don't think in the end it will all fall, it will all be laid out as I mean, they did end the season very well last year, which got them into 7th in the end. So
they did.
You can never write them off.
But
I'm also writing them off. So
right, okay. So from their last, so they won their last 1, 2, 3. They won their last 4 last year, and then they charged home, and obviously lost in the elimination. Quite funny enough, but anyway, I'm of this belief that they're going to be a threat no matter where they finish. I still hold that because I've been scarred more than anything. It's more PTSD coming through that I just don't want to count them out because I've counted them out before and they've won the flag in times where I thought they were no chance. So, I mean, there you go. I still think there's something there. I think they're serious. I think I would actually agree that in a power rankings form, I would put them 7th max, 10th or minimum in between there. However, I think they are on an upwards trend, not on a they're on an upwards trend, not on a downwards trend, in my opinion. Or they're not plateauing, but they're on an upwards trend as well. So yeah, there you go. That's what it is with Richmond. But if they lose this week, it's out. It could get very, very different. I think I should say.
Well, I think whoever loses this week can't be taken seriously. Like that's just sort of the way I see it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Richmond lose, you just sort of like, okay, that's clearly one off. And then if Essendon lose, you're like, okay, like they're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
So I think whoever loses is in not a lot of trouble, but you're starting to really doubt them and lose any confidence of them making finals, really.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on, thank you very much for the $2. I don't seem to have found it unless I don't know. if that's StreamYard kind of glitching or not showing it, but unfortunately not. If you can put it in the chat. I'm sure we'll see whatever it was, if it was a question or what have you. But if we move on, here we go. This could get tasty. Here we go. Okay, so the premise of this show is that we don't speak about Carlton, obviously, but this kind of issue is obviously if you watch football, if you watch Saturday night, 3 big snaps that one scored, 2 of them failed to score. We're not going to be speaking about those 3 incidents. We're just going to be speaking about the technique in general because I think it's rife in the AFL throughout. I think we can get away with it. I don't think it's a comfortable viewpoint. I hold an opinion on this. I hold a very strong opinion on this, actually. Before we get to me, we'll do as we always do. Yes or just generally yes or no with the snaps and the way that they've been used in the modern game.
Okay, well, I'm basing this off the way they've been used in the modern game, which no.
Okay.
Now I'm assuming you mean
you can elaborate
what we saw on Saturday night, like that's
from 25 outside
shots where you no, I'm not. I can understand it, right? Like I play my Div 3 footy back in the day. I hated set shots like drop punts. I couldn't, genuinely, worst feeling. I only actually kicked 1 out of, I think, 11 set shots I had. I hated them. The pressure's just too much.
Yeah.
Because there's just a lot to go wrong. I feel like the way it can come off your boot, I feel like there's just so much more room for error than there is with a snap.
Yes.
That in mind, when you're directly in front,
just kick the ball straight.
Just kick the ball straight. But even if it doesn't come off extremely well, you've got quite a bit of space either side. And I just...
Well, the goal mouth doesn't change if you decide to snap it. The area in which you aim doesn't get smaller when you decide to snap it.
No.
Does it? Yeah.
It doesn't.
And you can also curve it as well, which gives more angle.
Which is... I mean, it just comes... I'm guessing it just comes down to how comfortable they feel. Hitting the right bit of your boot. But then you look like an idiot when it doesn't come off, which we saw.
Well, here's a question that I ask. If you're lining up 35 out, like a very slight angle, and you miss a snap, do you look like more of an idiot in comparison to if you kick a drop punt?
You look bad either way. I mean, I would say snap's probably a bit worse because there's probably not that much argument to say you should have done a snap compared to a drop punt, but
yeah, well, it's I know it's a weird kind of thing, right? But the way I look at it, and I look at it from a kind of purely factual perspective, the way you hit a snap is kind of with the bottom of the ball, with a big area of the ball, the flat side of the ball, hitting it on the flat side of your ball of your boot, right? So it's a bigger surface area hitting a big surface area, right? Meaning you're going to get a better connection more often than not because that's how it works. I'll put it into this comparison. If you try high five, you're gonna make that connection a lot more times than if you try to put your fingers together, right? You're not going to get a clean connection as many times as you do that, right? And obviously that's with the drop punt. You're trying to put the points of the ball onto a very specific part of your boot because if you put 1 millimeter to either side, it could go off in that direction. If you put another millimeter to the other side, it can go off in another direction. So from that perspective, I understand why people are snapping them, right? Because the margin for error, in my opinion, is smaller. And I fully agree with. I think it's whatever players feel comfortable with. I think they like. I know we're not going to meant to bring this back to Carlton, but with Harry and with any player, it could be any player. The way I look at it is just kick the goal. I don't care how you kick them. You can kick it over your head. You can back heel it. You can throw it up and scissor kick it. I don't care. Just as long as you kick the goal, right? And when you don't kick the goal, that's the frustrating bit. So I don't have a problem with the snap in general. I think from a certain distance, I think maybe 40 out and above, 45 out, don't do it because I don't think you can generate enough power. And I think it's too hard to judge how far you need to aim it for it to curve back. But anything within 35 meters out, I genuinely think it's a 50-50, whatever you feel more comfortable with.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking with Harry, I mean, it would, being that tall, I could see why it would be a bit more difficult to kick a drop punt.
Yeah.
But
Dropping it from further down. And also, the ball drop on a snap is far easier to guide, especially if you're tall. Especially if you're tall, because you're holding the ball literally like where you're kicking it. In terms of the way you hold it with a snap, with a drop punt, you need to hope that it doesn't slip out of your hands. You drop the ball right, your foot's in the right position. Whereas with a snap, you're kind of holding the ball underneath, and you just kind of let it go. You just let it go. You don't drop it. You just kind of move your hand out of the way, and you kind of like place it onto your boot. So yeah, I don't know if you were 25 out, 30 out, would you drop punt it or snap?
Well, probably. Well, see, if I'm going off my history, I'd probably snap it. But if I'm going off logic, then I'd drop punt. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Why? Okay. Why? What logic dictates that a drop punt's easier?
Well, I just
kick it straight.
You're moving towards that direction. That helps.
It does.
You know, like snap. You're not even facing that direction. That's why half of them just, you know, it doesn't. Not that you lose your, you know, sort of sense of where you are, but you're at the very least always going to kick it towards the goal, unless you genuinely shank it, right?
Yes.
Snap, you never know, which we saw, and it was like, I don't get frustrated with him, right? Because, you know, you trust the player. I understand mistakes can happen. No one's going to, you know, you're rarely going to get a 5 goals straight performance from any forward. But it's also a recurring thing that you're like, well, come on, like, you can excuse it to a certain extent, and then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, you're probably just taking the piss a little now. Like, it's actually not working.
You're stubborn, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Well, obviously, it was like the flat punt kick initially, like in the early days where they kicked it like on the bottom, like literally bottom of the ball. And then it moved to the point. Now the snap. Do you think it's just evolving? Like the times are changing? Because I obviously wasn't around. Like they used to drop kick it. They used to drop it on the ground and then kick it. So the times are changing, right? Like we're not going to be drop punting the ball forever. Like we're not going to be doing the same handball forever. We're not going to be tackling forever. Like things change.
Yeah, well, it definitely is a skill that's evolving because the game's faster, and then in theory, the snap is a quicker kick than the drop punt is because, you know, you have to set up, get enough distance to go back, and then, you know, generate enough momentum, right? So the snap is a quicker kick when you're trying to score quicker. Not that it matters if you've taken the mark, you've taken the mark, but just moves the game a bit quicker. I can understand why there's that trend, but nothing wrong with the basics. Nothing wrong with going back to the fundamentals of the game.
But technically, the fundamentals of the game would be...
Yeah, what is this? Yeah, snap as well, yeah.
Well, no, not even that. The only reason the drop punt is the fundamental of the game is because it was evolved from a drop kick, which was evolved from another thing, which was evolved from another thing. So eventually, in 100 years, we could be to the point where the tradition and the fundamentals of the game are a snap. We could very easily...
That's weird to think about.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
I'm sure
100 years ago, when people would be looking at the handball game that's going on now, that'd be weird as well. So it's about just changing in football, right? But can't wait for Harry to kick 1 goal 10 from snaps on this weekend. It's going to be great fun. Can't wait to watch it. Before we move on, thank you very much for the $5, Lachlan. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support. It means the world. Appreciate it. Let's move on to the second last kind of talking point. Announced today, Granny in the day, yay or nay. Really proud of this. Really proud of that kind of this thing right here. That I'm great at what I do. I know. Thanks. The applause can be inserted here. Thank you. Obviously, 2:30 again this year. It's kind of a rolling schedule. We don't really know when it is. We don't know what time it's going to be next year. All we know is that it's going to be on 2:30 this year. I think anyway. Yes or no? I'm staunch 2:30. 2:30 in the day. Don't change it. Do you differ or do you echo?
No, it's a boring chat because I agree. So
Great, sick.
I've always loved 2:30 because it's not too late in the afternoon. It gives you enough time to
like 4:30,
warm into the day.
Yeah.
No, because you have the barbecue and you're sort of done eating around 1:30. Then the pre-game entertainment starts, and it just leads in very well. It's a nice day compared to where I'm not going to complain. No Vic bias, but the Perth ones were a bit, they sucked.
They were terrible.
Can't be too judgmental because I'm sure Perth hates some of the timings that happen for them when the games are here, right?
Well, don't live 3 hours away.
You made a lot of enemies just saying that, but no, I'm happy with it.
It's all right. All right, it's going to take them 6 weeks to come to if they're going to try to bash me. It's going to take 6 weeks for them to come anyway. No, that's great. It's another excuse to wake up at 10 a.m. and start drinking from the moment you get up. It's glorious. It's great. So I'm not, look. You wake up, it's great. I'm like grand final day. Normally, I like my sleep. Not only do I like my sleep, but I like to stay up quite late. So normally, on a normal day, I'll get up at about 11 o'clock, right? Which is not good, I know, but it is what it is. I like to get up at 9:30, wake up, get the hype, get the feeling around it, eat some breakfast, watch the pre game, watch the longest kick, start sinking some beverages, and then we go into the grand final day. And then it ends at about 5. And then you can go out afterwards. It's great. It's sick. I love it.
It is. It's where it should be.
It is. 1:30 start? Or is that too early for me? That's too early for me.
Bit too early. It is. It's an hour
too
early. Hour too early.
Yeah, it's a tad too early.
I could excuse 2 o'clock, but 1:30? Nah.
Nah, because then it's done at 3. Nah. Yeah, it's an hour too early, I reckon. Although it's better. We'll reckon they'll change it eventually. I think they will change it eventually. I don't think they should because money's a lot bigger at night. Money's worth more at night, apparently. But no, yeah, keep it as it is. Great, sick, love it. It is the best thing. Move on to the final talking point. Of course, it is Sir Doug Nicholls' round this week, and obviously it's a fantastic occasion. But the one thing that kind of comes from it is we get some really good kids coming out of it. So I've got every kit lined up here, and we're just going to go through and give them a ranking out of 10. Simple exercise. I don't think we can get this. I don't think. Yes, exactly. I mean, I haven't experienced it, but I just like to party after it in general. So I mean, that's once again an excuse to get pissed is what I like to call it. We're gonna go through every single Indigenous jumper, give it a ranking out of 10, and just chat about them because this is a fun, lighthearted exercise. Let's rattle through Adelaide.
Well, I'm going to keep tally on our Google Doc of what we've given each team. And then if we've got like 3 with a 9 at the end or 3 with a 10, we'll give our first, second, third.
Yeah. All right, Adelaide's. I don't mind it.
Not one of their best. I don't
mind it. I don't mind it. It's okay. It'll do.
Like it does the job very well. Its purpose is there, but the execution, 7 out of 10 for me. I was
going to give it a 7 as well. So we have slightly different views on it, but we'll go 7. All right, moving on. Brisbane. Oh, we're cut off. Let me go this way. Brisbane.
This way.
Other way. There you go. We'll just move the chair so I can sit here properly. There you go. I like it. Actually, maybe we can get rid of the banner. There you go. Say it properly. The drastic color change is annoying me. The drastic
it's the lion. Change. It looks like a Oz Kickers like jersey because the lion's smaller, and the design's very nice, but the small lion stops this from going to like a 9 or a 10. Is it better than Adelaide? It's on par, really. I couldn't see this getting an 8. I can't say getting an 8. I could see getting a 7, no lower than a 7.
7.5?
7.5. 7.5. We're just gonna agree on the fucking same number now.
No, I don't mind. No, I'm going 7 because I don't like the drastic color change between the brown and the blue. I don't like that. So I'll go 7. You go 7.5.
And I'll stick with the 7.5. Yeah.
Our boys, Jesse Motlop, gorgeous model he is. I rate it. I like it. I like it. A lot going on.
I'm a fan.
A lot happening, but I rate it a lot. I'm a fan.
I just need to double check, but I feel like this is very similar to last year.
Last year's
color scheme and everything
did have a lot of white last year. Yeah, you're right. It did have a lot of white.
And I'm looking at now, very like different artworks, right? But the color scheme very similar.
Yeah, a lot of.
But
light
I can't
blue,
base it off last year. Okay, I'm only basing it off this year. Be unfair. I mean, actually, no, I am taking into account previous things. Well, it's better than the last two. I would say an 8.5.
Yeah, I'll go 9. I'll go 9. I rate it. Probably got a bit biased in there, but I'll go 9. The Pies, as I hide again this way. See, this is what it is with Collingwood and Essendon's coming up as well, and even with Richmond as well, because they've got because it's a background with one color on it. I think they can do a lot with it, and the patterns on the black stripes I do like. I do like a lot. And that texture on the white, yeah, that's what. I like that. I like that.
This is going to be torture to watch on Sunday because they've got the back of it's black.
Yeah, it is.
So it's going to be a very bad. Like, I mean, I don't know if it'll be worse on TV or at the ground, but in terms of kit clashes, it will be very hard to watch. Lucky it's very wide at the front, but the backs will be very tough. I don't know.
I'm gonna go 8. I'm gonna go 8.5. I like it.
I just think they could have done much more with it. I feel like they have done much more with it. Like, it's nice. Like, it's, you know what? They could have been too overcomplicated.
Yeah, it does the job. Yeah.
But I don't think it's any better than Adelaide's. I'd say 6.5. I'm not really that.
Wow.
I don't know. Just not loving it. Not loving it.
I'm a fan of like a minimalist kind of just basic design. Like that's why the Carlton one, quickly to bring it back up, a lot going on. There's
a lot going on, but it's nice colours. I feel like colours is just like there's not a lot going on, but there's not a lot of colours either, and it's just like what is?
I'm a monochrome type of guy. I like my greys, my blacks, and my whites. Don't take that.
What did you give Collingwood?
8.5.
8.5.
Don't take what I just said out of context, please. Essendon. Here we go. Oh, we don't have to move that far.
You know what? It's a new because it's not the sash, like the sash elements there, but it is different.
But it's
the grey is a bit of a throwback to the 2013-14 away kit, so I like that, even though it was a pretty ugly kit.
How do you remember that? I don't know. But
my kit, my thing, I love jersey. I've told you this with the 2009 Adelaide away kit, one of my favourites. So I love.
I'm big stuff. I'm a round ball kind of Guernsey type operator, but anyway.
Oh, your retro taste is very good. I'll give you that. You're repping. Is that retro? I can't actually say what you're wearing.
It's not actually retro. It's not actually more important matter. It's not retro. It's actually from a brand called Football Town. It's like a apparel kind of very good website. It's like an apparel type football inspired apparel. Anyway, back on what we were speaking about. I like, but I don't love. I like.
No, I don't love it, but I when I compare it to what I've given with Adelaide, Brisbane, I think it's better than that. I like how they've to be fair, a lot of clubs just chuck a bird on there. Better be careful what I say because I'm not dissing the artwork, by the way. But let me just preface that the
artwork
very
is
well
fantastic.
Done.
But yeah, the artwork is fantastic.
Generally, just commenting on what's put on the jersey himself. Yeah. But I'll give it an 8.
I'll give it a 7. Give it a 7.
Freo.
Here we go. Oh. I'm a sucker for purple. I'm a sucker for purple, in fairness.
I'm very tall because I love purple.
The
top looks terrific, but then the bottom just sort of looks like they've put as much as they can at the bottom. Like they've sort of put a bunch of collective artworks at the bottom, and it's like you see how the chevrons are sort of a lot of I can't actually, it's very small on my screen, but the birds, all birds.
Yes.
And then whereas the bottom, there's a snake, there's a flower, there's paw prints. It's just very chaotic, I feel like.
Yeah, but I love me a purple.
But it is nice.
I love me a purple. The artwork's good. I like it. I like how white kind of goes on purple. I'm gonna go with the 7.5.
That's weird because I'd say 7. So I'm surprised you're only half above.
Yeah, I'll go 7.5. Right.
What's next? Gold cut.
The Cattery. No model on this one, as there was actually no model on the Freo or Collingwood one. The Cattery. That's a lot. Once again, a lot going on without a lot going on. It's like it's kind of like there. You know what you're getting, but quite a lot going on in the same vein.
It's tough because they've got the inverse of this as well, I think. So
yes, it is very good.
I like the inverse much better because this is just.
Well, do you want me to quickly get up the inverse? Actually, I can do that.
I don't know. I'm just not. I think the standard was set very high with them a couple of years ago when they had that nice gradient one.
Yeah, I know which one you're speaking about. Yeah.
So personally, I'm not a very big fan of this. This scrapes like it. Yeah, it's a 6 for me. I'm not very big on it.
Well, I'm going to quickly get up the other one. So you got 6 for that. Oh no, this is actually a wrong one. This is the 2021 one. Forget about it. It's past. Ignore that.
It's literally just the inverse. If you haven't seen it, it's just white background with everything else being blue.
Anyways, what'd you give it? 6.5?
6.
I'll give it 7. I don't mind it. I like it. I think it's okay. Right. The Gold Coast Suns. Bit blurry, this one. Best image I could find. Apologies. Very bright, exuberant, vibrant, as always with Gold Coast. I like.
It's just that shitty logo that ruins the whole thing. Like, change it. You don't even need to have it on there, right?
I agree. Yeah,
you could do so much more with it, even if you did it in artwork instead of just chucking it on there. Like, I feel that this is on par with the Geelong one for me. 6.
6. Yeah, the artwork's good. Logo ruins it. 6. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Giants.
Right. The Giants, and we've got transparent background. Probably should have done this for all of them. Hey, oh well, here's what it is. I don't know if this is their home one, considering it's white.
It's both. I think it is elite.
It's hot.
I like it. It is. To be fair, there's quite a. You know what? It's a lot going on, but it follows the path. It's visually nice to look at just when you're looking up at it. I do like this quite a lot.
I like orange. The dark charcoal doesn't really do it for me. I think it's like, do you want to be black or do you want to be grey? Like, you don't really know. Pick one type thing. What'd you give it?
With white shorts, right? This is a 9 out of 10.
Oh, with what? Yeah, with white shorts as like a clash or away, I'll give it an 8.5.
I know.
Oh, right. The Hawks. That's very good.
It is very good. This is the 10 for me.
Really?
It is a 10 for me. They've had some pretty piss poor designs in the past. Not that their colours do them any favour, but they've had some pretty average designs. This is, again, very pleasing to look at. You're looking right in the middle, straight in the middle. It's a hawk.
It's very symmetrical. Yeah.
It is. It's a 10 for me.
Oh, I won't give it a 10. I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9. Just so we don't have the same one.
Melbourne?
The D's. Is that it? That's it, isn't it?
Boring.
Oh, I'll say you really feel bad.
Well, again, they've had some very good designs in the past, like even last year. It was that handprint one, or like that was so hard to beat. But it's simple though, which I don't mind.
Simple, does the job. Nothing fancy, nothing flat.
Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. I agree. 7.5. Right, the pair. A little bit smaller on my screen as well.
Did we just miss North Melbourne?
Did we? Oh no, it's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, now this is tough. Oh, because this is a very nice design.
This may be my 10.
It's very good. It's a 9.5. The
blue or the teal.
The blue's so good to look at. Yeah, it's very good to look at. It's a 9.5. But I can't even give you like a why it's a 9.5. It's just because I think the Hawthorn literally is just a little bit better. It isn't, it's.
I'm going to back in on.
It's so small on my screen. I'm facing it's very tiny on my phone screen, but I can still see.
Yeah.
So is that your 10?
9.5. I'm out my judge. All right. The Richmond Football Club. Is this it? Is this their clash? I don't know. This is the only one I could find. That's at 2023 on Google Images.
Yeah, it is. They're the away team, so they've got the yellow base this year.
I like the idea. The idea is very good.
Oh, I hate it. You're not Essendon. You are not Essendon.
The green NIB's ruined it. It just has ruined it.
I mean, that's crap every week, right? I'm ignoring the sponsors. I'm not taking it into account.
No, you have to. It's the part of the kit, man.
Yeah, I guess. But that's not the reason I don't like it. It's just the red sash. Like, why would you wear a red sash against Essendon?
It's not red. Oh, it is.
It is. It's got some red in it. It's not.
No, I like the idea. I'll pay it.
6 out of 10.
7. I'll give it 7. I'll pay it. North. As we move across a bit more. Bit blurry as well. Again, apologies.
I like this originally, but the more I look at it, the more it hurts my eyes.
It does look like one of those. I'm probably not going to say what I was about to say. I'll tell you after the show. Yeah.
It just is a bit too, optical illusion-y, like all the waves and.
Yeah.
Because on a white background, it makes, the colours pop out really nice, but I don't know, it just is.
I actually don't mind it, hey.
It's not bad. Like, I looked at the first time, I was like, oh, that's nice. But I think it was just the colour scheme that was popping out. The actual design itself it's not odd, it's definitely out there. I'd say 7.5, because it's not bad.
7.5, yeah, I'll back a 7.5. The Saints. This is great in my book.
This is throwback. This is 2004 stuff, heritage. And then this is even 1920s.
This is the bollocks. I rate this. This could be my 10. I rate it so highly.
Oh, yeah,
that's my 10.
It's better. That's your 10. Yeah, it's a 9.8 because I don't want to have two 10s, right? So it's a 9.8.
That's great. Yeah, that's unreal.
It is good.
That's unreal. Right, the Swans.
Doggies. Oh, Swans. Same as last year. 2 out of 10. It's crap. Yeah.
I don't mind it. No, it can't be 2. I like the blue pop.
The Swans. I think I've read. I think they keep their design for 3 or 4 years before they do a new one.
Oh, that's nice. But
so they don't change it.
6.
No.
6.5.
Worst by far.
The West Coast Eagles. Tim Kelly. Beautiful model, as he is. Got very like the eagle at the front.
It is.
The sponsor actually helps. But in my opinion,
Mother Hungry Jack's sponsor. Well, it does. Yeah, I mean, lucky the yellow's there.
The
if that was a green
logo.
logo, it would. Yeah, it's very nice. I'd give it an 8. No real reason. It's not bad, but it is very good.
I really like the eagle.
It is good. It feels very similar to Hawthorn.
Yeah, okay. Finishing up, the dogs. This is the only photo I could find. I don't know who this bloke is. Just some random model. Got a good jawline on him. Though.
Well, this is on par with the Sydney one. This is absolute craptacular stuff. I'm sorry, but this just.
It's not great.
I mean, you've got eels on it. Why not make the eels the red and white?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that make more sense?
Yeah.
I hate it. I really do not like this. And it will kick clash with other opponents, I'd assume. If they play Adelaide, it will clash with Adelaide this week because they've got a very dark base. You could have just kept it blue and it would have helped. And then the week after, they've got the Suns. Okay. Be fine against the Suns. But no, 2 out of 10 again.
I don't know that game is. Year 4, probably the worst one. That's it. Let's rattle through quickly. Adelaide, okay. What you've written them down, so.
I'll just give you our top 3.
Okay.
So my top 3. Oh, well, yeah. Hawthorn, St Kilda, Port Adelaide.
Okay.
In that order. Yours, St Kilda, Port, Hawthorn. Well, that was interesting. That was so fast. We ended up with the same top 3.
That's a fascinating discovery. This is why we should have done it before the show. We should have seen if it was interesting or not.
I gave Giants a 9. I gave Carlton 8.5. So that was my 4th and 5th.
Okay, I think we did the same, maybe.
You gave Carlton a 9. So they're in your 4. And you gave West Coast and the Giants an 8.5.
Put the West Coast. Giants down to an 8 for originality's sake.
So West Coast. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
And would you believe we're over an hour? Who would have seen?
Well, what a surprise! And as before,
funny that it's funny.
Oh. No, sorry. Continue. It's fine.
I was just going to say the 2 weeks in a row we've messaged pre-show and said, "What have you got? I've got nothing," and we somehow still end up here each week.
Very good point. So. Please add something into the run sheet. I've got nothing. I've got. What can we speak about? Who's better, McLaughlin or Dylan? Thank you very much for $2 once again. McLaughlin under his tenure, the AFL records have gone up to $6. So anyone other than him, in my opinion, it's rort on the game.
The records, yeah. Well, I guess time will tell. I mean, Gill's done pretty well. I feel like Andrew Dillon can leave a better impact though. Like there's so many fixable things. But yep, time will tell.
Hopefully. All right. Let's finish things up. Round 10 preview, and because it's over an hour, we're doing it how we used to do it, and that is one word. Just tip yes or no. No real kind of in-depth elaboration. Yeah. All right. Let's kick things off. Friday night. Where are we? Friday night. Port Adelaide versus Melbourne. Port Adelaide. North versus Sydney.
Sydney.
Bulldogs, Adelaide.
Bulldogs.
Adelaide. Brisbane's Gold Coast.
Q-Clash, Brisbane.
Richmond, Essendon.
Richmond.
Boring. Richmond.
Okay, no, for content, I'll go Essendon.
Good, thank you. Good stuff. Hawthorn, Jay, can't wait to watch this game. Hawthorn, West Coast, the Harley Reid Cup. Jesus. Tune into this one, folks. What an entree before Carlton Collingwood, hey? Jesus, in Tassie as well, no less.
Hawthorn.
But neither team win. I don't care who scores more points. Neither team win, but Hawthorn will score more points. Carlton, Collingwood. And before we kick things off, what do you reckon the odds are for this game on the old betting machine?
Collingwood $1.80. Carlton surely not above $3 in the $2 range.
Collingwood 138. Carlton 306.
above $3. Oh, that. You know what? There's some value on that. I'm sure you'll be analysing that pretty.
My friend will
deeply.
be analysing it pretty in depthly.
Yeah.
My mate, I'll tell him to get on it. Gamble responsibly as always. I think that needs to be clarified, considering. But if you got, Carlton will win.
Tough one, eh?
Say Collingwood.
Collingwood, huh?
You know that meme from The Simpsons? Say the line, but
yeah,
just
big Simpsons
against.
fan. No, I am that person.
You are. You actually are.
Collingwood.
Giants, Saints, Giant Stadium, 4:40. What a game this is.
Danger game for St Kilda, but St Kilda get it done.
Danger game, you reckon?
Yeah.
The kind of Saints will win that. I think they should. Wrapping it up. Another episode done. Not super chat before we finish things up. Thank you very much. Nathan, a bit quiet. I don't think he's quiet. Maybe turn your speakers up.
I don't think I'm quiet. I think Ari just talks a lot.
Yeah, it's probably that. I speak I speak loudly, and I think he's fine. No, you're fine. I don't think it's an issue.
Clarify that for us, Lachlan. If I literally just don't speak loud, or
if I just speak really, really loudly and blow up everyone's speakers, yeah, that.
So that's nice. But thanks for the feedback. We appreciate that.
Appreciate that. Constructive feedback. Thank you very much for joining me, Nathan, once again. We're going to be back again next week. Hopefully seeing our football club win. You don't think we are, so what a surprise that is. But make sure thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a good show. It's been pretty good. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you follow both of us on socials at Ari_Y_Stamo on Twitter and at Nath Seppi on Twitter. Subscribe to the Blue Ball YouTube channel. Like the video. Very close to 10,000 subscribers as well. Under 500 away. So let's get that milestone. That'll be great. Make sure you subscribe. Like the video. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. See you guys next week.